of rats, guys. This is, you know. So the guy came to visit me yesterday, and their third eye. If you're opening your third eye, I would not watch this video straight away because I don't want this video feeling like everything is bad, and if you open your third eye, bad things will happen, because they won't. You have to understand that everything has a balance. So the more you can do, the more you can see. It's not relevant to good. I mean, it's not relevant to yin or yang, okay? Dark or light. It's not good or evil. It's dark or light, okay? Because that's really, those terms are really subjective, as it gets redefined by the individual, okay? Or the culture, or the time period. Think about it. You know, at one point you were allowed to murder anybody without notice. Then one time during the, when was this? I don't know, but you can look this up. But then you were allowed to murder people as long as you had a 7-day period, and then there was also a fee you had to pay. Now we don't murder. Now it's not really nice to murder people. And another example would be, you know, once upon a time you could marry 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds. Sorry about that. Someone, well, my mother called me. Anyways, where was I? So I don't want you to think that everything is bad. It's not. Everything comes in increments, but you have to learn how to work on yourself all through the body. I hear a lot, I just want to work on my third eye. I want to work on my third eye. I want to work on my third eye. If you only work on your third eye, it's like going to the gym and then always skipping leg day. You can't have an equally balanced energy field if you're only really hyper focused on one area, because there is such a thing as overusage. There is such a thing as it being too open, okay? So this is why we want to have balance. We never want anything to be too close, and we never want anything to be too open, dogs. Alrighty. So let's try to make this video short. I'm trying to think. So yesterday, I had a video where I'm talking about the goddess, something with an S, Modesty, and I'm explaining how she came to me. And in that video, I say about that I had a dream that they told me like 3 incarnations of Shiva, and I had to wait till like the 3rd or 4th incarnation. But every time I have these like message dreams, which I don't really consider them dreams because I have gotten, but just for the sake of simplicity, it's really an incubation meditation that I practice. And so in that moment, in that state, it's almost like a sleep state. It's like a meditative sleep state. And I hear that it's always like the end of a conversation, kind of like you're catching the end of a lecture, or when you walk in and people are talking and now the conversation's a different conversation because you walked in. But it's always the end of a lecture. And so when I looked that up and I saw there was like 19 incarnations of Shiva, I noticed that the 3rd or 4th incarnation was like a war god, although I don't know the name of it, so you'd have to check that if you wanted to know. I'm just expressing what I have been experiencing for the sake of being able to write it down. When I have more time, so it's out of my head. Because as time goes, it's like a dream. You start to like not realize that the information you have is now skewed or changed or romanticized or whatever. So you try to get it as quick as possible. So what happened? So my roommate name is Angel. So and he is downstairs, and he's telling me over the last couple days that people have been just arguing around him, and there's this energy, just not him arguing, but everyone around him just seems to be like in a mood, like in an instant mood. I didn't really think too much of it. I was like, okay, well maybe, you know, just something's going around or whatever. I'm not an astrologist, so I don't really pay too much attention to that unless it's Mercury retrograde, and I'm all red flags, right? So then I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, and he's walking from the dining room into the living room, and I can feel a presence. I feel a very strong presence, and it kind of feels like a polarity, honestly. When you have like 2 magnets opposing each other, there's like a pressure that you feel in between. It's like that. There's a pressure that's being created, like the wavelength is becoming shorter and shorter. So the closer whatever the presence is, the wavelengths are getting so short that they're compressing against me because it's coming in that direction. And so I tell him, I'm like, Angel, you have someone behind you. And I'm just sitting there, but I don't see it with my eyes. I just feel that those waves, that pressure wave. And I stop and I take a breath, because what I have learned through all of this is when you're uncertain about what's happening in that moment and you're getting signs or clues or intuition or whatever, just stop whatever it is you're doing. If you're scrolling, stop. If you're on Facebook, stop. If you're watching a movie, stop. Stop and give your undivided attention to whatever it is you think is the abnormal thing in the room or the unusual thing, and give it your undivided attention. So I give it my undivided attention, and I'm looking with my eyes open, or looking in Angel's direction with my eyes open, because I know it's behind him, because I can feel the distance, if that makes any sense. And with my eyes open, but through my third eye, I see a floating face behind Angel. So this is Angel, and then I see a freaky face, a really scary face right here, just kind of floating around. And no, he wasn't glowing, but he was bright, bright, bright red, and deep, deep, deep red. And as I see him, and Angel's talking, Angel's like, well, who is it? And I'm looking and I'm looking. And then I see the face there, and he responds to me because he overhears Angel's question. And he says, Wrath. And I went, Angel, you have wrath behind you. And in that moment, it didn't dawn on me, this is the reason why he had so many people getting so aggressive in his immediate environment, because he had been tethered to wrath. Now, wrath is exactly self-explanatory. A straight up anger. Okay? Straight up anger. And sometimes, I can actually create our own poltergeists, right? So we think of poltergeist as this like all-encompassing scary entity that will kill all of us, I guess, if it could. But we also manifest our emotions through other means, okay? So when we repress a lot of emotions, we can manifest that as an attachment, or as another deity that's coming through, or even a facet of ourselves that is on top of us and superimposing that feeling until it is dealt with. So he has everybody around him. Havoc, 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 havoc. So then he comes, he's like, you know what, I'm going to stay down here for the day, because he usually stays in his room. He's a gamer. He's like, I'm going to stay down here for the day. I'm like, all right, cool. I just have some work anyways. You can go ahead and watch Magicians, because that's what he was going to watch, The Magicians. And I'll go ahead and do my work, because I was applying for a visa, because I'm going to Brazil to see John of God in June. And not a couple moments later, I could feel inside of me this heat boiling and bubbling, and rage is just coming up and coming up and coming up. And I'm typing like the angriest person in the whole world. I was severely, severely enraged, to the point where I actually stopped doing what I was doing and put the computer down. And then the movie finishes and he goes upstairs and I calm down. So then he comes downstairs again a little while after, and I said, no, you can't come down. He goes, why not? I'm like, you better figure out how to get wrath off of you. I'm not dealing with it. You'll figure it out. So that's what was happening there. But then what it looked like to me was the Asian god of wrath. And when I wound up doing my research after, it said that this particular wrath god was the god of war. And it kind of looks like this. Like not a person. I know this is a dragon, but it kind of like looked funky like this. Like, just the face, but it was all red with a crazy face. And so it wasn't supposed to be like a necessarily evil, bad god or deity. It's just that it is a materialistic, egotistical God with wanting its needs fulfilled. Um, Coincidentally, which I don't really use that word too often because it's a lie, because it's all synchronized. So synchronistically, at that moment, I had message. Kitala's just like, in Kitala, people are looking at your head. Come on, come out of my shot, darling. Go. Okay, she does not want to move. She's like pushing against me because she doesn't want to move. She wins. She always wins. Kitala, please, please. Okay, fine. Just come up here. So, synchronistically, at that moment, I had messaged my friend Angelo, and he is a fairyologist, and you can check out his Facebook page, Alcazar's Fairy Garden. And I messaged him like, do you know what just happened? And I tell him, and he's like, OMG, because literally the moment that you messaged me, I was shuffling my fairy deck. And in the moment that I was shuffling and I heard the ping from my phone, a card flew out. And it was the Morrigan card. And he put it back in his deck. And he's like, but now I know that this is what it was, because the Morrigan fairies is kind of similar to the Wrath God. She is the embodiment of material gain, if you will. But you can find out more about her on another side, on another video if you like. So yeah, so that prompted me last night to understand, not to understand, to reevaluate some things that I have been doing because of this shift that I have had, and now the vibrational frequency that I'm working on is higher than I had been accustomed to. That means that my old systems that I had been using for protection and for myself, just for my protection, is not strong enough. It's not strong enough anymore. So now I have to do more so that way I continue having myself protected. And you know, maybe like once a year is when it comes up. I'm just kind of like, oh, gotta upgrade my protection skills, because now if the more good you can see, the more light you become. And when you are the light in the source, you are the source of light in the midst of everlasting infinite darkness. The moths and the creatures will gravitate to you. However, do not be afraid of that, because as long as you have a discipline in place, they can't touch you. That's really what it comes down to. Like all this fear around anything is just kind of like, you know what? Just make sure you're safe. When you go to the gym and you're working on your physical body, you make sure you're using your equipment to the specified specifications, I guess. Sorry for being redundant. To the appropriate specifications of that gym equipment. It is the same thing. You work with whatever you're working with as a healer, as a seer, as whatever you want to call yourself. But you have to make sure there's something in place to protect yourself at all times. Not just from people and not just from spirit. But we still have God deity from light and dark who will try to influence you in whatever way, because you still have free will. Yeah. So that's it. I think that might be the last video I'm going to make right now, because I have to go have to print out my stuff for my visa. Trying to think of anything else I wanted to talk about. I do kind of want to make some developmental videos, but it's on hold right now. I'm also writing ebooks, so please be prepared for that. It's going to be the Reiki Master's Guide to Teaching Reiki Kids. Yay! All right, thank you, and for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel. I've been around for quite some time, but now it's kind of shifting in my life, where this part of my life is becoming more prominent as I act locally, think globally. I'm trying to expand everything that we do here at How and for myself into the mainstream, into YouTube, so that you guys can also have this information. So if there's anything you want to know about, talk about, or create, let me know. Follow me on Facebook, Apollo's Claimed One, facebook.com/Apollo's Claimed One. There I put messages from Apollo, as well as tips and tricks, and I go live on there sometimes too. You can also find some of my services and rates there if you want a reading, guidance, removal of attachments, karmic pattern removal, cellular DNA upgrade, you can find me there. All right, guys, remember, know thyself, love thyself, and remember the divine always has your back. Namaste. Ciao.